Hi, I think everything should work now. Hello. Sorry again for the creaking in. Oh God, I have no idea if the sound settings that I'm using is actually working, but it should work. Um, Let me know in chat. Hello everyone. Let me know in chat if the sound is working like they usually do. Like if you can hear me properly, if you can see me properly. I think you can see me properly. I'm just hoping that the audio is working properly because my microphone's been acting up real bad the last couple of days, and I don't know why. But I'm actually gonna double check that. I guess I can do that. I'm gonna do that live on air. Fuck it, it's my stream. I can do what I want. Yeah, welcome to. Aha. Okay, sound's working. Everything is working. Good God, Jesus Christ. Welcome to the 2019 New Year's edition fan hangout stream, which were supposed to happen first December 30th, and then didn't because of things, which I'm going to talk a little bit about before I start inviting people to the hangout. And then it was supposed to happen a week ago, and that didn't happen either because of I am apparently incapable of processing any type of dairy, which means that everything that I do is awful. And the second I eat a small bit of cheese, my body shuts down, and that sucks. I'm working with a slightly different layout today. I'm still in my same room. I'm still in my bedroom, my very small bedroom, and I'm sitting on my bed, which is why you can sometimes hear the creaking of noise and also some of my garbage, which kind of sucks. But that's fine. Hello. So I'm going to read it. So if you're new to the format, the way I want to do this is that first, I have a small conversation with you guys. I talk a bit. I share some news about the channel. Then I invite people to join me via webcam and microphone. But it's a hangout, right? So I'm going to talk to you via chat too. So if you don't want to join directly, you can just be in chat. If no one wants to join directly, I just talk to chat. That's fine. And we just hang out of it. We just hang out of it. We have a good time. It's fine. So first I'm going to read the chat. Hello, everyone. A new room. Your videos will never be the same. This is actually the same room that I made the Sweden video in. And it's actually the same room that I made my very first videos in. There's a couple of videos between those that I made in my then bedroom, but now I live here. So where the camera is currently, where the webcam is currently, that's actually where I sit in my very first video, where I talk shit about like Nazi dress sense or something, which wasn't a very good video, but it's fine. Like that's the shelf that's gonna be that's I think it's in the video, my Sweden Heaven and Hell video, stuff like that. I have a couple of diplomas on the wall, and my degree is up there somewhere too. And the reason I want to do this perspective is that now you can see more of my room and myself, because this is supposed to be in a way a very like personal hangout thing, and I want to be personal with my fans. I want to be nice. And apologies if I am a bit weird. Hey. You're hearable and seeable. Yes, I can see you. Sound quality just went up to boot. Yeah. My microphone has been acting up a bit weird, which has also delayed my current video editing, because I discovered when I once I listened to bits and everything sounded good, and then I put everything into editing, and then everything sounded good, and then my audio quality just dropped like 800%. So I had to reshoot like a lot of stuff. So I've been spending the last couple of days doing that, and and then working on transitions between that, so I don't have to reshoot the entire video, because I don't want to do that because it's very long for me anyway. So technical problems, they suck. I'm pretty sure the year starts on the 12th of January now. Yep, it's true. My room is 200% messier, don't worry. Yeah, I mean, it's usually better. I should actually... No, it's fine. It doesn't look that bad. Before the hangout, I need to ask an important question. Which of us was supposed to bring the weed? This is a very small room. This is going to be hotboxed quick. Invite earbuds. Hello, everyone. I need a lefted version of Jordan Peterson to tell me to clean my room, or I won't do it. Clean your room. No, wait. Clean your room. Very studenty. It is very studenty. I'm not a student anymore, technically, because I don't study. But that's mostly because of my health. Like, if my health was perfect, still I would like be finishing up my master's currently. So it works. But like once I become healthy and I can like manage, either I can manage a job, or my Patreon goes like through the roof, and I start making like enough money on that to like live on properly. Then I'm gonna not live in this small room anymore. I'm gonna get a better place. I'm gonna get probably my own place, actually, because I have a bunch of roommates right now, and it's taxing. Having my own place would be great. If you want to ask me questions, you can do that. Usually I have the Patreon AMA where you ask me questions and stuff like that. It's protest Lobster Daddy by living in filthy rooms. Dirty rooms praxis. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay, that's chat. So some news from myself before I start inviting people. First of all, I know the video is pretty late. I said last time on stream that I was hoping that it would be done like within a couple of days starting January, but that didn't really take off. And the reason that didn't take off is because I was supposed to work on the video during the holidays. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know that that didn't really happen. And I have a good reason for that, and that is that one of my family members, one of my like immediate family members, was really, really sick. And I kind of mentally prepared myself to lose that family member. So I decided to spend the holidays spending time with them instead, and like being with my family. And I felt that that was a good deal, and I'm not really gonna feel bad about that. But we didn't really get any news about this person's health until like just a couple of days ago, right? Because they were going in for a chest X-ray, and we were almost expecting to hear the really bad news. Which also kind of put a dent in my video creation, because I can't really focus. It's hard to focus when you think about like, oh, your family is gonna be reduced. But everything turned out pretty okay. Like we're not out of the woods yet, but things turned out much better than what I expected, which means that now I can do much more effective work. So now I'm back working a bit more. Hopefully the video is gonna be done, probably not today, but like tomorrow probably, actually, because I'm just editing right now, and that takes time. But once you start, you should never feel bad about taking time for yourself. I thought we'd hammered this into your mind already. That will never happen. I'm never gonna feel that way. Some other news. Because of all this, like my entire New Year's is gonna be shifted a bit, right? So I still want to do the vlog. I'm still gonna do vlogs and stuff like that. Once this video is done, I'm gonna like probably shoot a quick vlog on my phone, And I'm also immediately going to start work on my next video because I do want to make one for January as well, like at the end of January. This is a blip on the radar. I know I'm late, but you know. But I know I don't really have to worry because you know I have more subscribers than ever. I have more patrons than ever. And so, like, in terms of success, things are going pretty good. And I think that's all the news I have. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have I'm still gonna do a charity stream because I was gonna do that in like October or something. December. That didn't happen because of my health. But I'm still gonna do that. It's gonna be like a long form thing. I'm not sure when that's gonna happen, but it is gonna happen. And I'm also going to have sometime, I think next week, I'm going to have an election update. Things have been happening like yesterday and today regarding the Swedish election. And a couple of months ago, I used to have like these election updates where I talked about the Swedish election and I answered questions about Swedish politics. And right now, it looks like we might actually have a government. Maybe. We haven't voted on it yet, and anything can happen. But things are looking like things are looking like Sweden is actually going to have a government soon, and that's cool. So that's nice, you know. Having a government is nice. From the looks of it, it's going to be like a very like socially liberal government, which is new in Swedish politics, but it's fine. I'll talk about that more in an election update. And the election updates are also like freely available to everyone. That's not Patreon exclusive. I think that's it. I can't come up with anything else that I need to think about. The topic for this video is the topics for the Hangouts in general are supposed to be the topics of the video that's supposed to come out before this, but that didn't happen because it's late. Plus, this is a New Year's special. So the topic for this Hangout is going to be reflecting on 2018, which was a garbage year, and looking into 2019, which is hopefully better. And if we can do that, things should be pretty good. We've been stuck with conservatives almost 10 years. Yeah, we're going from a leftist. We're going from a leftist-ish Hangout government to a like centrist government, which is that's fine. So I'm gonna throw out the. Can I do that just like that? I'm thinking about the best way that I can invite people into the chat without I don't want to do that without causing chaos. I really need to find a way to standardize this, and it works right now, right? Because like I'm a small channel and I don't have like a billion fans, and that's fine. But like my audience is growing, and I keep getting more and more people joining these Hangouts, and after a while, it's gonna be rough. Okay, I'm gonna okay. I'm just gonna throw that out there, and then chaos is a ladder. Don't you want us to have ladders? Hashtag laddergate. So if you want to, you can join. If you don't want to, that's fine. I'm gonna be in the chat anyway, and answering your questions and hanging out because it's a hangout. I guess I'm gonna start talking about like 2018 because I started my channel 2018, but it's kind of hard for me to reflect, to think as that I've done this channel for a year, right? Because I did a couple of videos and then I like immediately became exhausted and my health kind of was destroyed. But now I'm back, and I've only done one video since the hiatus, almost 2 now. And it's kind of hard for me to say that I've done this for for that long, when in fact I like been doing YouTube for less than half a year, like 4 or 5 months at most, I would say. Because I did it a couple of months and then I went away and then I came back, and I don't really want to kite the hiatus. So I can't really say that I've done this for a year. But I have done this for a year, technically. My Patreon is 1 year old, and my YouTube channel is a couple of years older than that. But since I started making political YouTube videos anyway, and it's been going pretty good. Considering 2018 was the year when my health was like well and truly destroyed. Going from like stressed student who had a job at a master's course to becoming putting a hold on the master's course, on the master's essay, being semi-forced to quit my job because I couldn't really work, and things. 2018 was awful, but I did start making my YouTube channel, right? And after talking to my doctor during that, during my immediate health crash, I also got the I got the prescription to no, keep making YouTube videos, they're good, keep making streams. I'm really happy also that I tried at least doing some streams during the hiatus, even if it was very irregular, but it did help bring me back. And that's why I got to be more consistent with the streams too, because if I can do that, then it can also work, and it boosts my health. I still don't know how to join, nor do I have a mic, so I just stick around and chat. That's fine. Chat is equal to hanging out in the Google Hangout. No, so 2018 was bothersome for me. Hello, more people. Hello. No, so 2018 was bothersome for me.
Hello?
Hello, I can hear myself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh god, the echo.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can also hear you. I can also hear myself.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, it's because normally the last 2 times I've done this, you've not been able to hear me for a good couple of minutes, which, to be honest, does make the world a better place, but I wanted to make sure that wasn't happening this time.
That's fair. I can hear you now, though. However, I might hear myself a couple of times over. But hello, Margaret. Welcome to the Hangout. Hello, Christopher, also. Welcome to the Hangout.
And you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So how has your 2018 been, people?
Decidedly mixed. On the one hand, I came out as trans well before my deadline. I set my deadline of the end of March this year, which is when end of March being when Trans Day of Visibility is. I got on hormones. I got my referral to the Gender Identity Clinic. Some great things. My dad accepted me as trans. All brilliant. On the other hand, I did break up with my wife. So yeah, some real positives. In fact, it's one of those cases where there's a lot more positives than good. It's just that the negative is a big one.
Yeah. I mean, that's it sounds, sometimes it'd be like that. How about you, Christopher? How was your 2018?
Got a job in the last 2 months.
Oh, very nice.
Surrealism in the job hunt reached truly ridiculous proportions. Have health insurance again, but again, the first 10 months were a complete trash fire. So
I feel like a lot of us had this period of at least 5 to 10 months of trash. where everything is awful.
Yeah. So
But, ended on a pretty good note, though.
yeah, ended, got a job, started doing writing, started trying drawing again, which I shouldn't do because my art is an abomination. But it's something to do at least.
Well, I mean, all art is an abomination when you start. I technically have a drawing pad, which I haven't used in a couple of years, to improve my own art, which hasn't gone that well, considering that I pivoted into YouTube instead. So what are you looking forward to in 2019?
Let's see. Okay, do you want to take this one, Christopher? I'm drawing a blank.
Okay. Moving to a permanent residence rather than an apartment. Therapy, maybe?
Is an apartment not a permanent residence?
Permanent. If I have to pay rent every month, and I have to renew my lease every year with increasingly bizarre requirements, then I would not consider it a permanent residence. I only barely managed to renew it last year.
That almost seems, designed to make sure each tenant is short term.
Well, if the rent goes up each year, and therefore the credit check or the salary check goes up each year.
That seems deeply unfair in the housing market.
It's especially because I was raised in a very austerity-minded, so I did not have a credit card until 2016, which meant I had no credit history.
Oh yeah, same.
And well, that also hurts the job search because a lot of companies, their background check is they do a credit check, and since I have no credit history, I'm not real and don't exist.
The same thing happened. A very similar thing happened to me when I did when I changed my legal gender in Sweden, because then you have to get a different social security number, which means that when they do a credit check on me, they can only find income and debt payments from when I got the new social security number. All of my old history is just gone. So doing anything is like, oh, I somehow had an apartment. I somehow got into students and university and stuff like that. But I haven't actually bought anything or made a single dollar in my entire life until that point. Well, which makes my credit history weak.
Well, you can waive the credit history if you make 3 times the rent and salary, but income not from salary doesn't count.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Wait, what? How does that work? America.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a paper trail thing. You've got to show that you've got this money coming in.
I literally knew a millionaire who got rejected from renting in an apartment complex once because he made all his money from stocks, so he had no salary. So they rejected him as a renter because he was not fiscally able to rent the apartment.
Yeah, too poor.
Logic.
Can't do that. That seems super weird to me, though, because Sweden does a different thing. Sweden counts income as what you declare in your taxes, right? And then that income will come from anywhere, but that's your income.
I don't know the complete
from anywhere.
I want to blame it on the fact that capital gains is taxed differently than salary.
Probably. But you can do that and still count it as income. America.
Yeah.
The more I hear about America, I'm concerned.
Yeah, we all are. So, I've thought of my 2019 things, at long last. On Tuesday, I'm going to voice coaching.
Ooh.
For the first time, well, not the first time. I had a voice consultation last month, and it was kind of positive. She said that I took to the exercise really so well that it didn't seem like I'd need a great deal, just a bit of sort of guidance. So it's going to, only cost about 200 to 300 as opposed to anywhere up to 800, which is good.
What, pounds?
Yes.
Oh yeah, right.
I'm getting it private.
I keep forgetting that I live in subsidized Sweden where everything's free.
Yeah, I have to. Oh, I have to admit, I when I sent you, I don't know how much money, what money's worth in Sweden. So when I tried sending you money, I might have sent you an insultingly low amount. Like I think I sent you 10 krus. What krona? Is it? No, your yeah, 10 krona.
That's
And
like
I don't know
krona.
what that actually is. I assume that was like $10 or €10.
Debased foreign currency, not based on the divinely ordained gold standard.
No,
The divinely ordained gold standard.
but yeah, no, it's so yeah.
Sanctioned by God.
So yeah, voice consultation. I'm looking forward to that, and I like the teacher's good. She's an actress, so I got a bit starstruck when I saw her. I was like, oh my God.
Someone I know? I do.
Rebecca Root.
I've heard the name. I gotta Google that.
She was in a sitcom called Boy Meets Girl. She played the transgender main lead, and she is transgender.
Oh, I know her.
Yeah.
I've seen her a lot.
And she's in Colette, which is out in UK cinemas this week. I don't know about other cinemas, but they don't matter.
They don't matter.
No.
That's cool. That's real cool. Like, my experience with voice coaching is fun. I didn't realize when I started and finished it that it's different for different languages for some reason, and I don't know why. So like I did voice coaching in Swedish because I live in Sweden.
Seems logical.
Yeah, and it worked fine. I got a passing grade, and then I went to get a YouTube channel in English, and now I have to start over.
Also, I'm getting a cover-up tattoo, and I'm getting it. I've got this tattoo from Tekken on my arm, and it's bold black. So and that's going to be the night sky with butterflies, blue, pink, and white. I'm calling it my trans stamp.
There's a lot of those going around.
Puns.
Listen, we live for puns. It's the only thing we can enjoy.
I was laughing at a Henry VIII song pun joke the other day
what's
at
that?
work. It was like, you know the Cut My Life Into Pieces song?
Yeah.
Cut my wife into pieces. I cannot get divorced. And I see this on my Twitter timeline. I start laughing at work, and I try to explain, but my coworker doesn't know who Henry VIII is, so he doesn't.
Of course, I'm not used to that. Obviously, in England, that's one of the things we learn at school because, you know, it's just one of the things. In fact, that's the only thing most people remember about Henry VIII. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. So
wasn't he also the one that just like decided to start his own church?
Basically, yes. The Pope wouldn't let him get an annulment from Catherine of Aragon, who, by the way, was fucking awesome. When Henry was away, I think in France, she led and won a battle against the Scottish, and I think she sent whichever she beat, I think she sent Henry his head. I was like, seriously, his wife was metal, so he gets an annulment because none of their sons survived infancy. He wants to, at least. Pope won't grant it, so he declares a split from Rome, and he sacks all the monasteries for their vast wealth.
I mean, go big or go home.
Yeah, and also he is the reason. Basically, before this all happened, he wrote a defense of the church, and so the Pope granted him the title Defender of the Faith. And the English monarchy still has that title, but I maintain they should give that up. That was the Good Catholic Award. They're not Catholics anymore. They don't get the Good Catholic Award.
I think the fact that he didn't get an annulment was, if I recall correctly, the Holy Roman Emperor, who was Catherine's
uncle
relative, was currently holding the Pope hostage.
Or nephew, nephew or uncle.
One of them, yeah. The Trastamaras were gone almost at that point. They'd married into the Habsburgs, and you become Habsburg when you marry into the Habsburg. Something to that effect.
This is too old history for me.
And then the Habsburg would just spread across Europe.
Didn't work out well for them though.
No.
I don't see the problem. Keep intermarrying with other people, and sooner or later you get a pure bloodline.
I took advanced history in high school, which was world history, which meant European history from 1400 to World War II.
Yeah, that's world history.
So
yeah, that's all of it.
But no,
That's all of it.
it was actually an honest mistake. It was a course mislabeling.
All right.
Okay.
Because European was a separate class, but they had lumped them together due to a mishap when they were making the database.
That reminds me of that
so
reminds me of like a university course when I studied I think it was my last history course before I could do my thesis, and it was just this it was supposed to be like generic Western history, and it was just American history. Which is super weird for me to learn, because I'm not in America, and it's this weird cross section of modern history. It's like, okay, well, I guess
we did American history from college. We did the civil rights history of America, and in retrospect, there was a civil rights movement in Britain as well. We could have learned about that, and it probably would have been more helpful for us in particular to learn about the history of civil rights in our own country. Not that, it's not good to learn about, the history of the world. It's just thought,
So in the civilization game that is the world, the U.S. sort of tried to go for a economic victory, but accidentally wound up going for the cultural victory.
Yeah.
Also, while we're talking history courses, I had a history course which would have been a great name for a metal band: Sex, Death, and Dogma.
That's a pretty good name.
It was about the medieval history. I thought that was a great name.
Goddamn. History.
Yes. But was it 2018 while we're still trying to so
it's
in the
technically history.
Yeah, in the UK, things got so bad that the government was reprimanded in a way they've never been in modern history. Theresa May realized her deal was never going to get through, so she pushed it back 3 weeks, and in response, her own party almost threw her out.
Almost.
Yeah.
She's safe for a year.
At the moment, we're sort of, she can't be, well, unless Corbyn remembers what a motion of no confidence is sometime in the next, however, but so we're currently at the situation. It's 3 days away from the rescheduled vote, and sort of the government is doing this whole very thing where in order to get their deal through, they're basically trying to say that it's either this deal or no deal. I mean, in fairness, the EU have said this is what you're going to get. This is your deal. But, the idea of a second referendum where the option of, are you sure we want to do a Brexit, is some sort of democratic, I don't know, some sort of threat to democracy. In fact, even our transport secretary today said that not doing Brexit or doing a second referendum would be would fuel the far right.
Yeah,
of course. If you don't implement what the far right wants,
I mean,
then the far right is going to be angry at you.
Yeah, that's
sort of logic.
Here in America, we're currently enduring it is now the longest government shutdown on record.
Congratulations.
I had to go to the post office today. That was mercifully still open, but
we need party poppers.
If I recall from the timetable, the federal courts ran out of money yesterday.
Cool.
So it's a matter of each agency expending their reserve at this point. I think the food stamps program has enough to make it to next month. One of the national parks has been irreparably damaged. It's fun times all around.
Right. It's amazing to me that this is even technically possible because
it's against the law for federal employees to strike. They're having sick days in mass.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Like, if they're doing unpaid work, then yeah, of course. Like, I remember seeing like a big news story about like how air traffic controllers or something are not showing up to work, which is interesting. But it would be like, it's such a weird situation how it even came to this. 2018 is, and going into now, is this incredibly weird thing with a lot of firsts.
They did it
should not happen.
They did at least, I think, yesterday, right before Congress adjourned for the weekend, because Congress doesn't work on the weekend.
Of course not.
They did say that when the shutdown ends, they will do back pay.
Yeah,
But the problem
fair.
is rents are coming up, so Trump's Office of Management and Budget suggested that federal employees do chores for their landlords in order to make rent.
And what's it?
Cool. We're back to
I
serfdom now.
I read a statistic recently, or it was something 78% of all US workers, and I imagine this includes some federal workers, are living rent check to rent check.
Yeah.
So they don't have the money to think, well, it's okay, we'll just sort out our debt with back pay. And I imagine, what's this? Even though they could get the loan, I imagine that interest rates are appalling in the US, because everything in the US is almost everything in the US is designed to benefit the companies, and yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Well, adding to this, the farm subsidies can't be paid, but even worse, because I think you may have heard about the US stock market shenanigans recently.
Oh God, what?
The US stock market, basically, it's the equivalent as if everyone had just stayed home since September 2017. In the last week of 2018, all the US stock market gains during 2018 were erased. And they can't get the financial information because the government offices whose job is to publish the recommended prices for agricultural products, but also the financial information, have been shut down.
Great. How is this, like, this is the thing though, like 2018 is this weird year where a lot of firsts happened. I would love to like go through month by month, as someone in the comments recommended, but that would be impossible because it's too much has happened. Yeah. And this would take 3 days to finish, and I need to edit. I'm this close to finishing my video, guys. I really want to finish it. Anyway,
sorry, one thing. I realized I made this symbol whilst I was counting things, like 1, 2. That looks a little bit like the fascist thing. So if I did that by mistake, I'm really sorry.
I'm a scuba diver, so this is how you say that your equipment's all right when you're underwater.
Oh, you know, this means peachy, but I've seen people say something similar as the white power. If I did that by accident, I'm really
it's a troll thing. It doesn't really mean anything. It's a dog whistle that like the far right uses to other far right people, but it's also like a very like innocent symbol. Like it's.
Oh, you know, I'm just pulling it out there. If anyone sees it, no. That was just me forgetting how to count with my fingers for a minute.
That's a great use.
Oh, it's funny when I'm nervous sometimes, or just
I'm actually. I just want to like say properly that this is ironic.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm sort of zoned out, I do this. I sort of bash my fingers together, hands together, and I'm convinced that one day I'll do that in a foreign country, and I'll find out it means "fuck you" at a really inopportune moment. Like I'll accidentally do that across from a really buff guy who'll get offended, and I'll get beaten. I was like, no, I just do this nervously. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that'll probably that happens a lot. Like whenever I go to other countries, I have a tendency to fuck up too. Goddamn. Like 2018 has been like this weird like firsts of years. Like Sweden's government also kind of shut down. But we're like, this is the thing that I have a hard way of understanding when it comes to like the American shutdown, right? Because the American shutdown, because you don't have a government in the proper way. I'm sorry. I need to come up with a good way to say that. Like, you like per default always have a government. It's just that
Yes.
It's not an actual like government in the same way that it is in many other countries, where in many other countries you have like people who sit in the parliament or the Congress or whatever, and then the people who have the majority, they form the government, but you just have one per default because you have two parties.
It's
but which I would think would make things like more direct. You could do more with that system, right? It's less democratic, but you would be able to do more. So like even within the Swedish system, we can't even agree who's in charge right now. But even here, like we can't run out of money for government institutions, because that's not how budgets work.
We're
American budgets have to be like passed like all the time.
Normally this sort of thing wouldn't be happening, because normally before the 2010s, the president would propose a budget, or Congress would pass a budget, and then the president is legally required to spend the money in the budget. Everyone's relatively happy. There had been government shutdowns and debt ceiling standoffs, but it was never as common as this.
Yeah, isn't it every couple of years now?
Yeah, for example, in the 90s, the Republicans shut down the government for what was until today the longest government shutdown, and then they were crucified over it.
We can only hope the same thing will happen now.
They didn't do it for like another 14 plus years. So what happened was that the Tea Party fire eaters, who are the extremists even among the Republican Party in terms of budget policy, have basically sabotaged it. So there are no more budgets anymore. The government isn't funded by a budget. The government is funded by continuing resolutions to fund at either previous levels, or in the case of the military, previous level plus something percent.
Seems like
so instead of a unified budget, they vote on every little bit. So that's why this is technically a partial government shutdown, because they managed to pass several of the continuing resolutions for different parts of the government before this showdown happened. And what's really terrible is that they had actually passed a continuing resolution in both the House and the Senate, you require Republican votes in order to pass. But Trump vetoed it, so now the Republicans who voted for it in the first place won't vote for it again.
Cool.
Yes.
America.
So because we've been doing the budget, instead of having actual budgets, kicking the can down the road because the Freedom Caucus won't let us have actual budgets, so we're even more dysfunctional than we usually are. And then we have the debt ceiling, which I think only Denmark uses still as a concept.
It sounds like a Danish thing.
Yeah, because I remember seeing that when the first debt ceiling showdown happened, that they mentioned that Denmark's the only country that does this. I'm wondering if they haven't gotten rid of it simply because embarrassment, because they are the only other country that does it, is that the U.S. Congress has to agree to take out more money, but also to pay the money they've approved to take out debt for the money they approve to be spent is a separate process than approving to spend the money.
How is this possible?
1700s.
God damn it.
The U.S. really has...
Please, you need major constitutional reform.
We do. The problem is the Constitution was basically designed to be hard to reform, and the way the U.S. is set up, as more states were added, it became harder and harder to reform the Constitution. And there's the fact that the imbeciles who wrote the Constitution in the first place did not expect political parties ever to form.
Smart.
Yeah. They wrote the Constitution under the idea that political parties would never form, but before the first election, there were two political parties.
Great.
Brilliant.
Good job.
Meanwhile, in the UK, we sort of have, when I say we, one part of the UK, which I'm not in, Northern Ireland, has been undergoing its own government. It hasn't had a government for a while either now. Honestly, it's been so long I've forgotten. In fact, it would have been the world record holder for longest without a government. Only the people who decide such things decided that because Stormont is only a regional government as opposed to the government, there's a regional parliament as opposed to the actual government for the whole country, it doesn't count. And basically what happened there is
Jesus Christ, it's been going on for over 600 days.
yeah, basically what happens there is in Northern Ireland, the agreement is part of the Good Friday Agreement, and it comes out of a very bitter civil war, or I think if it technically labeled that bitter conflict. And in order, it's designed so that everyone has a share of the power, so the conflicts don't flare up again. And in order, basically, in order to, a government needs to have support from both Catholic and Protestant communities. And it broke down last time because the DUP, or was it no, the DUP or the EUP, the Protestant side, was embroiled in a corruption scandal. And the reason why it hasn't been able to reform, the central sticking point is that Sinn Féin wants Irish Gaelic to be explicitly mentioned in the languages bill they're bringing forward, while the DUP don't want that to happen. This is in further made a bit more problematic by the fact that Theresa May in Westminster is reliant on the DUP to get votes for her majority. The Conservatives don't have a majority. So, and the UK, Britain is meant to be neutral. The idea is that we're meant to be a neutral party between the Catholics and the Protestants. But when our government relies on the Protestants for its own domestic affairs, we can't claim to be neutral.
There's also a thing that happened like a couple of days ago. Like I've read up a bit on the Troubles because it's basically the only part of political history that I've actually studied after the World Wars, because it's very interesting and like pretty relevant still from like modern day politics. Like it's still not uncommon today though that the Troubles the Troubles haven't flared up as much as the actual Troubles, obviously, but like the Sinn Féin offices, they still get threats, and like I think they recently had like a gun attack or something, like a hit and run weapons attack on one of their offices. So things are not going super well currently.
No. And that's also
the deal currently, like the Brexit deal, is treats Ireland a bit differently, which means that the DUP won't ever support it.
No. So yes, as you're saying, but so basically the deal in place with the Troubles is again the sticking point. Basically, they are dependent on the Good Friday. The peace is dependent on the Good Friday Agreement and this idea that there'll never be another hard border between Northern Ireland and the rest of the country. And so to avoid this, the idea is that if Brexit, we don't reach a trade, until we've reached a trade deal with the EU, there will be basically Northern Ireland will essentially be in the customs union without the rest of the UK being in the customs, and this will avoid a hard border. The DUP don't want this because they don't want a settlement that will make them distinct from the rest of the UK.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what's threatening the deal. The other being that this stopping point, both sides would need to agree for the backdrop to end, and
that's never going to happen.
Yeah, the Conservatives, the people against it, mostly Conservatives, are arguing that it gives up too much of our sovereignty, and that's why we're leaving. Credit to that point, that does give up a hell of a lot of sovereignty and gives that power to the EU. Because the EU can say that no, we don't want to. Yeah,
we just want to.
It's almost like Brexit was a really stupid idea.
I voted Remain. I am. It's funny. I went to France the summer after Brexit, just over a month after it happened, and only one couple asked the spouse, no, nothing to do with us. We voted Remain. This is not our fuckery. But
So, looking into 2019, how long do you think it's gonna be until there's another referendum? Either that or a general election, because one of them have to happen soon.
well, okay, so the referendum, I hope there's going to be one. I'm not. I think there's a good chance, but I'm not 100%. It all depends what happens on Tuesday. The same for the general
Yeah.
election.
It's gonna fail, though, right? Like,
Oh yeah, everyone thinks it's going to fail by a good margin. Brexiters hate it. Remainers hate it. Labour hate it, and they would on principle anyway, because hating it will, even if they didn't have a reason to hate it,
they're the opposition party.
yeah, they're the opposition, and hating it will help Theresa May fall. So basically, as long as
no one likes it.
yeah, the Conservatives are extremely unlikely to support a motion of no confidence. I mean, they don't like, for example, Jacob Rees-Mogg, the MP who looks like just a Bond villain.
Yeah.
Minutes after Theresa May won her vote of no confidence by a good margin, he was there saying her margin isn't strong enough, she needs to go. Yet the moment Jeremy Corbyn suggested a motion of no confidence in the Prime Minister, he was defending her and saying she won the support of the party. So,
I remember seeing that in the news.
Yeah. So basically, as long as the DUP supports as Theresa May, the no motion of confidence, no motion of no confidence will go through, and that's why Corbyn's waiting, because he understands that there's no point doing this unless it will result in the fall of the government. So really, it all depends on how the DUP, happens on Tuesday, how the DUP reacts. If he feels
other countries in your party discipline.
Yeah, if he feels like he's confident enough to stage it. And I have to admit, I'm not really. I mean, I just want Brexit to not happen. That's where my head is at, and I'm slightly worried because Corbyn is terrible on Brexit. He's not. I mean, he didn't campaign very well for Remain by all things. When all comments on it, they say they don't think it was enthusiastic, and all his comments suggest that either he wants Brexit or that he believes that because there was this first referendum, it needs to happen. And so I'm kind of worried that. So say we have a general election and vote Article 50 would have to be extended. I mean, unless we would have to ask for it to be extended.
Yeah, you would have to ask for it to be extended because the EU is not going to give you that.
The EU don't owe us anything. But I'm not convinced that under Corbyn, I think we'd just be kicking the ball down the road. I think he'd try to get a better deal because he keeps saying he would get a better Brexit, and it's not going to happen. I honestly think that the only way this can realistically end is either some sort of, there's a deal that's a terrible deal, but the MP, the PM who in charge at the time tries saving face with one key aspect, or we get a second referendum and hopefully Remain wins this time.
Or it's just going to be a no-deal Brexit and the UK is going to fall apart.
Yes, but I really don't want to consider that. That would be terrible. I mean, we've had reports from ministers suggesting that, or some people saying ministers would have to direct ration medication.
Oh, you're already doing that.
Yeah, the Minister of Hunger was in our news.
Yeah, I mean, it's so bad. We couldn't even organize a traffic jam. Literally, we tried organizing a traffic jam, and we needed something like 160 trucks to show up and jam traffic for a trial run, and like less than half that replied.
Good job. How like it's really interesting from an historian perspective to like see the British Parliament collapse this way, like this very total collapse, because like the
problem is anyone in charge is committed to Brexit. It doesn't matter any of the stuff that Leave got up to. It doesn't matter that there was no clear concept of what would happen after Brexit apart from leaving. It doesn't matter that no one can agree on what to do next. For some reason, no, Brexit is dead on. the only people who are campaigning for Remain aren't politically relevant enough to make a change, which is why Corbyn being in denial is so bad.
But I don't think Corbyn is in denial though. Like a lot of studies have said that, talking about like how Labour doesn't really have, like Labour has more support in the current system than they would have if they went out to say and like proposing a second referendum. Currently Labour does have more support, and like since they're not in power yet, and because most of the polls say that they have like fewer numbers than the Conservatives, then I can kind of see where he's coming from, at least until he wins the general election, and at that point he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
I mean, to be honest, the only reason I don't have an Irish passport right now is I'm not Irish enough. My great grandmother was a quarter Irish, and surprisingly enough, that's not enough.
I think it is if you are in America, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the Irish American system works, because they have a different system. But I don't know shit about that because I live in Sweden.
I don't know. I live in America. Why would I know how America works? Well, part of American culture is not understanding how our country works.
Well, we're all waiting for
that makes sense a lot, actually, because I don't ever see, like, there's a part of me that really wants to live in America in the future, but then every time I like hear how the country works, it's like how is this working?
How have we survived this long?
I actually
how did you take over all of North America using this incredibly weird system?
They bought half of it, didn't they? I spent a week in an American school once.
Because Mexico, which at the time was probably equivalent to America, had an incredibly was in the middle of a lot of political dysfunction, so we were easily able to defeat their army and take about a third of their country.
That's fair.
But yeah, it was funny. We went on Florida for holiday, and my mother told the school nearby that we were planning to move there next year. So please, could I spend a week trying out their school to see how I would fit in? My mother conned the Florida public school system into providing free childcare for a week.
Yeah, that's I'm originally
Chris,
and he's gone. Okay. Well,
now that the Americans out of the room, let's talk about our plan to conquer the land and reclaim it for Europe.
No.
Oh, you never want to talk about
that's how we ended up with America in the first place.
Oh God, yeah. There's was in a comic strip once. The British Army saying, "Do we really still want these people anymore?"
And then
I prefer to think of 4th of July as these fuckers aren't our problem anymore day.
Well, they might not be your problem, but they're your fault.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know,
American imperialism and like colonialism has it's just all bad news.
All right, yeah. For any viewers who aren't clear on history, basically in the 1600s, we briefly were a republic, and not just a republic, a Puritan republic. And then 10 years later, we decided we didn't want Puritans running our country anymore, and we kicked them all back and brought the king. When we kicked out all the Puritans, and to be fair, they closed the pubs and cancelled Christmas, so they had to go. They went to America and started being Puritans there, and the evangelicals are their descendants. So, yeah, we didn't dispose of our rubbish responsibly, and now you have to pick up the pieces. Sorry about that.
I keep doing this in world history.
I had a horrible internet hiccup for a minute. Yeah, there are actually still laws on the books about how it is legal to kill Quakers in the Puritan settled areas.
So yeah, always
we have that too, like in Scandinavia, where we can kill the Danes.
Yeah.
So remember,
entirely justified.
Remember, always dispose of your religious zealots responsibly.
Yeah, there was also one of the things is that that sort of kept the country semi together for a while was there was all, if you didn't like it, you could just continue going west until eventually you hit the ocean.
From
And then
sea
you
to
died
shining
in
sea.
infantry.
Yeah. Like the Mormons when were kicked out, then they moved to Missouri, then they were kicked out there, then they went to Utah.
And that's how we ended up with California. Good job.
Yeah. Well, we ended up with California because they discovered gold there, declared themselves a republic. The U.S. intervened and annexed the very short-lived Republic of California, which was even the Republic of Texas, at least, actually did have an embassy in England and had a very brief constitution of its own.
Yeah, for like a week.
Yeah. No, for about a year. There is, I actually, when I was in London, I got to visit the Texas embassy, which is now like a pub.
Nice.
But the West Florida Republic, the California Republic, they didn't get international or any sort of recognition, or the I think there was a Hawaiian Republic. They didn't get any.
Well, I mean, Hawaii was a kingdom for a long time.
Well, the thing is, she was going to get rid of the Bayonet Constitution, which was the U.S. and to some extent England forced her on a constitution that was very unfavorable to Hawaiians. And so they proclaimed a republic under the guise that the Queen was going to reinstitute absolute monarchy. That was their reason.
God bless. Hey.
Vermont also was briefly an independent republic, but
Also, I remember from that historical documentary I watched that the California Republic was paid for by gold from El Dorado, and the proposed general was stopped by Zorro.
Yeah,
It's true.
That's seems accurate.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Oh, come on, half of you. So many Americans who might be watching this won't know the difference.
And there's the whole there was I think it was the Ogden Manifesto. Yeah, I don't know the exact name, but during America's we can't actually address the slavery question phase.
Oh yeah.
The idea was
we can't talk about it. It's illegal to talk about it.
We're going to balance the Senate by for a while the compromise of the decade, because they went through several, was for every slave state there's going to be a free state. Well, they looked at the map and realized they'd eventually run out of states. Can we buy Cuba from Spain to make it a slave state?
Can we? That's
God damn. Gosh.
American history. Why?
Then there was another one. For a while, American mercs basically rampaged around in what was left of the FRCA. There was also a very brief attempt to take over one of the South Sea sultanates that didn't go anywhere, really. He decided he'd rather be sultan himself, converted to Islam, and became known as like the white sultan of I think part of Borneo.
Also, I remember. Well, so I don't think we covered this in history, but of course you tried annexing Canada.
Yes, three times.
And we burned the White House down.
Yes.
You know what was really, really nice for the First Lady is she put on a delightful spread for our soldiers to enjoy while we burned your capital down. Not many presidents would have their wives make a meal for their attackers, but I mean, I imagine it was really appreciated. No, it was
for you.
Yeah, it was our soldiers ate the food that was, the meal that had been left over while they burned it down. I just love that.
I'm gonna have to put a hold on this conversation because we keep going back to like American history for 300 years ago. Terrible. 2018, and the next year, the future. Okay, also
the next year. I
about like the topic of the stream.
I mean, I'm hoping to continue with my transition, but the thing is, our waiting list for NHS treatment is so long that I won't be seen by the gender identity clinic until 2020. And I mean, I'm already. Yeah.
Is that a long time?
Yeah. I was.
Sweden has legendarily long waiting lists. A year is good.
Well, no, it was a year. It would be a year and a half minimum because it was since July I've been on their waiting list. Actually, technically, I don't even know I've been accepted yet. Supposedly, they will assess whether or not I'm fit to be on the list. What criteria they use, I have no idea. And then if I'm accepted, I'll get a welcome pack. So yeah,
Sure.
I mean, I've
Sure,
got the
yeah,
voice.
a year and a half for sure.
Don't-
That's a speedy system. Sweden has like waiting lists up to like 6 years sometimes. Sweden is legendary when it comes to like slow healthcare within like the non-critical sectors of trans healthcare.
Okay, so yes, while it could be worse, it does mean that there's not going to be much progress for me this year. So yeah, there's the voice consultation.
Yeah.
My main plan is just to get a job, a full-time job, maybe, or something. No, a job in my as a staff writer somewhere. I was an editor at Starburst, but they didn't pay me. I knew that going in, but I only realized towards the end that it bothered me. And and if I get a job, maybe move out to a place with flatmates, because at the moment I'm living in a flat that my mum owns and I just get for free, which
God
is
bless.
yeah, which is nice. It's a nice flat, to be fair. It's a 1-bedroom flat. But I can't. I'm a grown up. I'm 28 years old. I can't live in a place given to me by my mum forever. You know.
Well, it's 2018. Nothing.
I know that
is
sounds like
anything
real
anymore.
first world problems, as they say. But well, to be fair, she's also going to sell this place soon, and I will literally, if eventually, I would be literally living with my parents again. So yeah, I do want to hopefully get some sort of form of financial independence, enough that I could move out and live in my own, well, not my own place, but a place that I pay for entirely with my own money, and yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I have similar goals for 2019, basically, where either I become healthy enough to be able to have like a part-time job as like a substitute teacher or something, because I can technically do that somehow. I somehow have a history education and also worked as an educator, so somehow I can do that. But it's just going to end up with me like indoctrinating children with like, here kids, please read The State and the Revolution and The Revolution Betrayed and everything else in leftist literature. Here kids, have Kropotkin. You need to read this.
I didn't really think of myself as a leftist yet, more of a bit left of center, and I was accused at one job of being a union plant.
A union plant.
You're way too educated, smart, and ranty to be working here. Why are you working here? Because you're the only people who hired me.
I like money. It helps live. You're
there to indoctrinate the working class.
Yeah, well, the one of the well, I kept stuttering. Well, hopefully my employers aren't watching this video.
Hello.
I try not to talk politics much at work at this job. At the other job, yes, a bit, because most everyone at the other job were incredibly depressed when Trump was elected, because almost everyone I worked with was an immigrant from Latin America or Ukraine. The Ukrainian was very panicked when Trump was elected. But this job, it's less so. So at the other job, yeah, people. But this,
You're a union plant.
There are in the United States, there are official company anti-union indoctrination videos to prevent you how to identify union plants and to prevent from being indoctrinated into this.
I remember seeing like an Amazon thing about that, Amazon or Walmart or something,
CVS,
like one of those big,
pharmacy
huge things.
Yeah.
It was really, really funny.
I know this is a fictional movie, but in Fun with Dick and Jane, he goes to work to Walmart, and while he's in there, there's a poster that says unions work for themselves, not for you.
That's actually in very old Sam's Clubs, which is a spinoff of Walmart. They actually have the Walmart stock ticker on the wall and a sign that says, "This price depends on you."
Wow. God bless America.
What?
This actually, because one of my aunts is very libertarian, she sometimes gets a little bit too anti-union because my dad is technically a union worker, and so is my grandfather, despite them being, generally very conservative. Sometimes they actually get a little bit irritated when a family member goes on a completely anti-union tirade.
I mean, sometimes I get annoyed with strikes, and especially I live in an area where our train provider is embroiled in a strike that's been going on forever about the roles of security guards on trains. And on the one hand, while strikes are annoying, it's kind of the only tool they've got that means anything. And if we want unions, effective unions, to do their best to maintain decent working conditions and rights and all that, we kind of need to accept that we will be inconvenienced every now and then.
Your trains have security?
There's
seems
a
weird to me too.
driver. There's a driver and there's a security guard. And currently, lots of various train companies are trying to argue that they just need the driver.
Yeah, I mean, that's how like most countries do it.
I haven't taken suburb rail very often enough, but local rail, because I live in a city that has local rail, just the driver. Amtrak, just the staff. I never saw a security guard on Amtrak. There's not even baggage check on Amtrak.
Apparently, the security guard operates the doors, and they're saying that the
What,
driver,
like not even not even luggage check? Like, how do
Okay,
you treat rail things? Like, it's
what do you
do
mean?
do you ever need luggage checks? Do you ever need security guard? It's a train. It's not a
because
plane.
No, we
You're not gonna
don't. No,
hijack a train and drive it
only
into
need
like the desert.
No, we only have airport style security when we're going on an international train.
What?
You don't
Why?
have that? We have to go. We have to get for the Eurostar. When I went to Paris 2 years ago, I had to get there 45 minutes early. Put my bag through the thing. Do you not have that?
No.
that's airports.
I can go to Spain and no one will like check my bag
No,
or my ID.
it was this whole big thing. It was basically, I mean, we got on a train, but at the end, but in every way, with those boarding and everything, it was exactly like
What? This is incredible to me.
Yeah, this is how it works on our end of the Eurotunnel.
Yeah. U.S. airport security is ridiculous, which is one of the reasons I don't like to fly. But I live in the Amtrak hub, so I take Amtrak if it's not more than 48 hours, because at that point you don't want to be on Amtrak. But for like 18-hour Amtrak trip, sure, fine, whatever. No bag check. You can check luggage, but they don't go through it. They don't check your bags. You're allowed to bring alcohol on the train, which you're allowed to bring liquids on which you can't do on U.S. planes.
Yeah,
Nobody
of
cares.
course, it's a train.
There are fun security videos always playing, but it's more directed to. But they always have like, and then it turns out the suspicious person is just a rail enthusiast taking pictures.
Yeah, of course.
Like they actually have that in it. They're like, there are police in the station, and there are sometimes dogs in the station, but most of the stations have 1 or 2 employees unless they're a hub, and they don't check your stuff on the train. It's very nice.
They don't do that here either. It's just we have security guards. I guess if a fight breaks out, or
I mean, yeah, at the station,
like
I can
this
see that,
actually
how that happens.
led to a problem because I was taking the Amtrak to Florida, which is a 48-hour trip, because there's no direct route. I have to go along the northern border, then along the ocean, instead of just direct, or south and then direct. Can't do it. So it's 48 hours.
I know that Amtrak has like American Rail doesn't have that many rails.
Yeah,
which is weird because like when you think about America and like the age of progress, you think about like the railroad, but you don't have that much railroad.
It's partially because of George Will.
Well, now we're going back into American history, I think.
Oh, no, yeah, no, we were doing so well.
Yeah. Well,
I'm talking about trains. Welcome to the train podcast.
There was a guy on the train who was very disruptive and probably made more than just me feel unsafe, and we couldn't do anything about him until he got off at his stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not super uncommon on trains, because it's
Yeah, we just get the
Train.
security guard.
Yeah,
It
I don't know
doesn't
what
mean that you have security
do.
guards.
But also they check for tickets.
They do that.
Oh yeah, well they do there too. They need to check for tickets.
Yeah, I follow one of my friends on Twitter, who her big two topics of conversation are trains and nuclear energy.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So every now and then I'll see her talk about how bad the American train system is and how much better China's is in comparison for the same, distance. So I know way more than I would personally like to about the problems your country has when it comes to trains.
Our country has problems when it comes to everything.
Yeah. Well, your country is a problem.
Like the only way we were able to get our highway funded was because you could land planes on it, and because the president had seen the effectiveness of the Autobahn in World War II.
I need to partially interrupt this this train conversation to partially say hi to Kate, who joined a while ago, and also to react to my friend Dan, who just ate so much Indian food that he's nearly dead.
Well done.
God bless Dan.
You are
God bless you.
Oh no, I was trying to do the funeral.
Interrupt this train of thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think I'm gonna start rounding off the stream because it's been going a little over an hour, and I think that's okay. Huh?
So
no problem.
Should we list our goals quickly, like bullet points? If we could,
Sure.
Okay, 3 things we want to be true by next year.
Yes,
Sure.
three things we want to happen in 2019. Margaret, start. Go first.
Okay, I want boobs. They don't need to be big boobs, but I'd like my breast development to have started. 2, I would like paid work in journalism, or critique, or just writing. And then 3, and this one's really out there, I would like to have moved into a flat which I maintain with my own money, which was gained through work, not just given to me by mum.
That's a wholesome personal development goal. Good job. Christopher.
Not get fired. Condo. U.S. government reopens.
Question. I need to ask this because you said it. What the fuck is a condo? Because I only hear it in American contexts.
A condo is like an apartment, except you own it, so you don't pay rent, though it's still part of a building.
I know. I've only ever heard the word on American.
So apartment is like something that you have to rent.
Yes,
in
rent
America.
an apartment, you own a condo.
We just call it flats.
Yeah, we just call them apartments. Like it's the same thing. You either rent or own an apartment.
Generally, also larger, and you have, because you own it, you still have to abide by the rules of the building, but you have greater control, and you can rent it yourself to people.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that's a condo was, but now I know what a condo is. Cool.
Your goal, Mia. You
God
can
damn
do
it. God damn it.
That's not a goal.
Like the only goals that I really have are probably related to, well, first of all, I want to recover my health so I can do more things. I want to start at least with my side projects, which is the vlog and my podcast, which I kind of want to start doing. And I think the final goal is probably like, it's pretty aspirational, but maybe like reach 10,000 subscribers on YouTube or something like that. I haven't reached 1,000 yet, but I think my next video is going to push me past 1,000. So my hope is that growth will keep being exponential, because that's how the YouTube algorithm works, where the larger of an audience you have, the more people are recommended your content. So I hope that will happen, and that someday I hope that my channel will just grow, I think. So I can partially have a bigger fan base and also have a bigger YouTube income.
I enjoyed your video explaining Nordic fascism. I thought that was good.
Thank you. Nordicism is one of a fun topic of mine, which I've read probably too much about. Where I'm probably stuck on a watch list right now because I've been reading a lot of Mussolini, and it's like I belong in the camp where it's like it's fun it's fun and people should read the like ideological literature of the people that they vehemently oppose. So like I've read the works of Mussolini, I've read Mein Kampf. They're all awful.
Mein Kampf. I couldn't get very far into it.
I've got some Limbaugh and other right-wing commentator books still if you want them. I don't want them anymore.
God no.
Mussolini,
I've had enough.
Speaking of Mussolini, do you want to hear one of my shameful family anecdotes, history notes?
Is your real last name Mussolini?
No, God, no. My great grandmother, during the late 90s, married a man named Francesco Cameron Medici, who was the governor of Addis Ababa, for the Italian government at the time, and would go on to be the prefect of Tripoli. Yeah.
Neat.
Yep.
That's horrifying.
Yes, it's deeply shameful. Deeply shameful.
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
And on that horrifying note,
La 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 la.
God damn.
Escape, run away.
The point that I was trying to make is that like I try to be somewhat well read. So when I did like most of the research for the Nordicism video, I had to like dig into like, oh well, what do like the original fascists say about whiteness, if anything? And it's incredibly fascinating. But it's incredibly fascinating in the same way how flies fly over dog shit, which is it's fascinating to see, but you don't actually want to be close to it.
I remember in the early, again, I didn't get very far into Mein Kampf because I got bored, but I remember
it's not well written.
There's a bit where Hitler describes seeing a Jew in real life, and the way he describes it, it's like he's looking at an alien. Like he says, oh, he's like a human in all these ways, but he's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, if you want to, like, and that's one of the reasons I think it's very important to read literature like that, because when people talk about like dehumanization, especially on Twitter recently, I think there's a lot of like right-wing comments when people like right-wingers say that, oh well, if you insult Trump, you're dehumanizing him, and that's what Hitler did to the Jews. And it's like, not really, because as you mentioned, like he actually like describes a way in which he believes that people who aren't like white Aryans are actually not human beings, and that is what dehumanization means.
I have a horrible right-wing book you need to be sent, because it's literally a field guide of him dehumanizing political figures. That's how the book is set up.
What book?
It's a Michael Savage book.
Also, that was right. Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, he's very over, and I had it in college, and he goes. It was written around 2007, so he goes through it and dehumanizes various political figures, and Trump, who he is now an avant supporter of, he bashes in the book.
You don't mean liberalism is a mental disorder?
Yeah, that guy.
The political Sioux.
Yes, that's the one. If you want it, I will get rid of it and send it. You can go through it and be appalled by everything.
Amazing.
I never read it, but I saw. I was on the plane back from New York in the airport. I saw this book which claimed the thesis of the book that liberalism is ancestrally descended from German Nazism.
Yeah, that's a common thing in America.
Yeah, that they believe that intellectually, the liberals of the day. So this was 2008. I saw this book in the airport. Owe their ideas to Hitler.
I think I know the book. I think it's a Goldberg book. It's called Liberal Fascism. Yeah.
It's got
What?
it's got the cover has the yellow smiley face.
Yeah, that's Goldberg.
Yeah.
It's Goldberg.
It's
What the
got.
fuck is this? This is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Hold on, let's Google it. The liberal fascist.
This is the last bit before I'm ending the stream because apparently.
Yep, John Goldberg.
What?
There you go. Liberal fascism: the secret history of the American left, from Mussolini to the politics of Lenin.
I've heard of this. I've heard of this. God, it's so awful. I hate. This is the final rant of this stream, by the way. I vehemently hate people who do political history, but they don't actually know anything about political history, and all they do is like they hear this like one tidbit or something, and then they make these vast connections. And Dinesh D'Souza does the exact same fucking thing.
Well,
he talks about like how the left are the actual fascists.
Yeah.
And
Goldberg was editor of the National Review.
Of course he was. Of course he was.
Unlike D'Souza, he is a respectable.
This is the dumbest moron I have ever encountered ever. Okay, actual final rant. I have to finish this. Dinesh D'Souza is sorry.
What's an omniliberal? Because Dan Sinfield says as an omniliberal. What's an omniliberal?
God knows.
I've heard of this. I've heard of omniliberal. I think I've talked to Dan about this too. I'm friends with Dan in real life, by the way. I should say that. It's just the Democrats were the KKK meme yet again. It's kind of is. But it goes further than that, right? Because Dinesh D'Souza goes out to say that that the Nazis were actually leftists and they weren't nationalists, and he's basically PragerU on speed, and he is the I've encountered so many times when I was still within academia, when I encountered someone who did not study history at all, who came up to me in a bar or something and heard me talking about like politics as I normally would do in a bar. I do that a lot. And like would talk about like, actually, I read on the internet that actually they were all leftists and the Democrats are actually real Nazis. And I hate people who make a living out of this shit, because Dinesh D'Souza, he is a large figure doing this, and then we have like all of these other like less respectable or more respectable voices who do like similar things of just flat out denying things. This is actually a big point of the video. That's why I'm ranting about it a lot. The video that I'm currently making, where they are so incredibly over reliant on the inherent theory of what they're saying, right? So the theory of like the Nazis being left wing, that's a theory. And within the theory itself, it is coherent and it makes sense. But so do all conspiracy theories. And there's this incredible over-reliance on that, where they don't ever like look at like a book or like talk to a person or like do anything material. So like Dinesh D'Souza does this. Stefan Molyneux does this. Jordan Peterson does this. Like all of these major like philosophical academic voices within the right wing, they're all basically conspiracy theorists.
Sorry, is Limbaugh in your video?
No, Limbaugh is not.
He used to do this shtick, and it's extremely present in his books, where he is the prestigious Attila the Hun chair at the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies at the beginning of whenever he tries to do math and stuff. Which most of the modern don't seem to do that, have that little sort of shtick thing. It's just
politics, yeah.
Yeah.
Dan responds with like, the party flip thing is easily found out without about 20 seconds of Googling it. Yeah. So whenever people say that the Democrats are actually the real KKK people, I'm like, yeah, you are correct.
But you can't trust Google because Google is communist.
They're owned by the leftist media.
I just feel so grateful for the quality of my history education that right now, when I see stuff like, I used to complain that so much of it was Nazi censored, that we spent so much time learning about them. But then when you see stuff these sort of claims, like, you know what, I take it back. I'm so glad I was afforded a decent education that's inoculated me against this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and that's the other, like, that's the flip side of the coin too, right? Because, like, I study history, so obviously I'm going to say this, but I think history is the perfect science to learn if you want to be a decent human being. And the reason for that is that if you study, this is my opinion, right? And it's probably wrong, but it's not because I'm right. If you study anything in STEM, right, that's good. You're going to do like good things, but you're going to be over reliant on like material facts. Philosophy and stuff like that don't matter, and that's how you get like Neil deGrasse Tyson not understanding why why people become right wing.
This is why I'm super happy my university required us to take, and then they got rid of the course apparently, ethics in computing.
It's
where like, we had to study Kant and other things. It was only a 1 hour a week course, but it was the most intensive 1 hour a week course in my life, and we had like 5-page papers due every week. Because it was only a 1 hour course, we had so much homework, where we actually had a computer science professor teach us philosophy and ethics.
But you need that, just because otherwise you end up with a lot of tech nerds who like start making facial recognition thing. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's good science, but the moral and ethical implications are enormous. So you get usually people on the right, who fetishize science, who fetishize like facts that aren't really facts, they're just dolled up opinions. But then we also have people everywhere who just fetishize these political theories that don't actually matter, and we have people who fetishize like science as a concept, and then they stop funding history education, for example, because they or stop funding the arts or ethics or philosophy or things like this, because they don't think that these things are actually matter in real life. And fast forward 20 years, and then we have rich people who studied in STEM fields asking on Twitter, like, why are people political extremists? I don't understand how this could ever happen. It's like, yeah, no shit, you didn't study any history, did you?
Around 10 years ago, there was a political commentator I was reading who mentioned that the only reason artists exist is to be pets for the upper class. And if you're not an artist who's a pet for he used the term pet, you have no business existing.
You know what's
of course, like a lot of people do this shit.
A quick side note: it is vaguely the Henri Toulouse-Lautrec. He was an aristocrat, and the only reason he was allowed to pursue his art was because he was he was a dwarf. I'm really sorry. I'm really not. I'm really sorry if I'm saying this wrong or causing a fancy. But yeah, and basically the argument was, okay, aristocrats aren't meant to do art. We're meant to finance art, but it's gauche for us to actually be artists. But because you're never going to go hunting or horseback riding anyway, you might
as well.
Yeah. But yeah, that's
I don't know much.
Running thing that, rich people don't necessarily do the arts. They just, this idea that they don't participate in art, but they do fund it.
I could do a good long rant for that, but I'm not going to.
Like the modern day aristocrats, right? Is the modern day capitalist, and the modern day capitalist is usually someone who works in tech or someone who owns a lot of tech. So we have like similar social dynamics, but just different things where people value STEM fields and like hard sciences a lot more than they value soft sciences, which is really good if you're into like hard sciences, but it's really bad if you care about society, because we need soft sciences too in order to understand the world we live in. But that's why the point that I was trying to make is that that's why I think history is the perfect subject to study, because history has this blend of like philosophical, ethical discussions and theoretical discussions. But if you can't connect that to like a real world thing, then it doesn't matter. No. Apart from like philosophy, where it doesn't necessarily have to connect to anything in real life, at least not as material as history does. But also, it doesn't just take, like, you can't just look at a bunch of like novels from 300 years ago and just present that and like, look at my science, look at the books that I found, and that's it. That's my science. You can't do that. In history, you also have to create a theoretical framework to actually like extract knowledge from that. But that now I'm spoiling the video that I'm currently editing, and that's why it's in my head. I do really need to quit the stream now, though. I'm sorry.
Bye.
It's been going on for way too long.
Yeah, but we're very sorry, Ish.
It's
We're
fine.
sorry, adjacent.
It's fine. I embraced it.
Then
So
don't
I'm just gonna
everyone.
okay, rant about why the terms hard and soft sciences are silly. I probably can. For the video that I'm currently making, though, I am using those terms, but I am using those terms within like big of these
Air
ones,
quotes.
like big air quotes, using that hard and soft science because it's all bullshit anyway. But it's a commonly understood use of the term, so that's what I'm going to use.
Science is.
I'm probably
bullshit.
science is bullshit. But I'm probably going to have one of those like text things that I usually have in the videos, like having a quick, like the terms are bullshit, but they're easy to use and they're commonly understood. So that's why I'm using them. I'm probably going to have a rant about it. I'm probably not going to make a video about it.
Good one for the vlog channel.
I used to be an historian. It still relies on what evidence we have. Yeah, like you need the actual physical evidence. Okay. I see Musk worship. Yeah, Elon Musk worship. Yeah, people like fetishize Elon Musk as doing this like hard science thing, but he doesn't have like any. He doesn't use soft science, which he could use in order to like make his workers not hate him and also like not be an asshole on Twitter.
Isn't he undergoing a court case because he kept implying that the diver who didn't want to use his toy was a pedophile?
Yeah. Like, yeah, he has no idea how people work, and if he just like studied, I would like if Elon Musk would want to be like a better business person, I would just suggest like study history for like a year, and you would see that you can't call people pedophiles on Twitter because that's a bad look. But he doesn't understand that because all he understands is money and rocket science, and that's it.
He doesn't understand computers. The engineer NDA expiration shows that Musk has no idea how computers work.
No, of course not. But like Elon Musk himself fetishizes science a lot. Like fetishizes the hard sciences. But the example that I more usually use is like Neil deGrasse Tyson, for example, because he knows a lot about astrophysics. Sure, he does know a lot about astrophysics, but he doesn't know anything about like how people work, and he doesn't know anything about how society works. So whenever he goes online to say like society should be structured in this way because that's how astrophysics is structured, it's like, okay, but people are going to listen to you because you're a smart person, but you're a fucking dumbass in this context because you don't know anything about how society works. Please study like a term of like any social science. Okay, long rant. I need to quit.
Okay.
I need to edit. Goddamn. Sorry for postponing this a lot. Everybody say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Have a wonderful time. Bye.
Bye. Farewell, everyone.